Hey, this is Dave Wood from musictrainer.com. We're going to add some more chords to the repertoire. We're going to start off with the G chord, the ever famous G chord. So basically, we'll show the chart on the screen here, but you've got your first finger and your second finger sort of together right up here. And you've got your third finger and fourth finger sort of bunched up on the high E and B strings. And it looks just like this. Alright, now play that a couple times. If it helps to sort of take your hand off and put it back on a couple times, just to get the muscle memory happening with that, that's always a good way to get to it. And remember, if the strings aren't quite ringing out, it's because either your fingers aren't arched enough or you're not pressing against your thumb correctly. If you start to get some of this, then play one string at a time. Okay, moving on. Going to the D chord. You should always learn chords together. Always start off with the G chord or start off with whatever chord and try to use two chords at the same time to switch back and forth. So today we're going to do the D chord next to the G chord. The trick is that you can keep a common note in between the chords. Right now your third finger is on the third fret on the B string. We're going to keep that in place, just like that, and bring these two fingers down to complete this triangle of the chord. And since this chord is the D chord, you're starting on the D string. Okay? So same thing here. Play that a couple times, and then once you get a little more comfortable with it, take your fingers off, put them back on again. Alright? Now, after you get a good handle on that, go back to the G chord. But try to keep that third finger anchored down as much as possible. And then practice going from G to D. Alright, then using the metronome, set it about 50 and practice. Now, you have to notice that I'm leaving a pause on count 4, okay? That's going to give you time to make the switch. So even if it sounds not so good at first, making that switch, it's okay. Just to get you comfortable and keep the rhythm moving as much as possible. Okay, now we're going to add one more chord onto this. It's going to be the A major chord. Now, there's a little trick to this. If you ever see this written down, you would say, well, my strongest fingers are usually, your first finger, your second finger, and your third finger. So people see this written down and they go, oh, I can play the A chord and I can play it like this. The only problem with that is that your pinky is smaller than these three fingers. So it's a lot easier to get these three fingers in this tight space using this fingering, which is your second finger, third finger, and your fourth finger, or your pinky. Much, much, much easier. So, same thing with this chord. Also take your hand off, put it back on again. Okay? Now we're going to combine all three of those chords. So starting off with the G chord, you're going to play one measure of G, one measure of D, and two measures of the A chord. So on and so forth. So you can practice that on your own. Okay, there's one other tip here, is that you probably noticed, or maybe you did or didn't, but I changed my thumb position a little bit for some of these chords. And I know we talked about keeping your thumb back here on the neck. That's the best place to start. And it is, but for certain chords, you kind of have to shift around a little bit just to make it a little bit easier for yourself. And everybody's going to be different on this. There's no one right or wrong way on this. So you might say for me, well, sometimes I might grab the neck a little more like this. It's okay, but just remember that good technique and good habits start with starting here. Okay? And sometimes you do have to, for the D chord, it's sometimes a little bit easier just to go to this one. Okay? And that's it. So practice those 3 chords together as much as you can. Do about 5-10 minutes a day on those 3, and you'll have them.